could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little more about who is Martin and how did you reach this point in your career?
Okay, so before I do that, I just want to say I think the work you're doing is absolutely fantastic. So before we start on me, well done to you, because I think Green Gorilla is doing some great stuff in terms of really getting people across the industry to engage with you in like conversations. So well done on that. So I've worked in all different parts of the industry. So when I started my career, I started working on construction jobs, so large scale civil engineering projects. So up at 4 o'clock in the morning, pouring concrete. I worked for the Environment Agency, so I was very fortunate to work with some amazing people, including working in government. And then that brought me to BRE. So I suppose I've seen the construction side, the regulatory side, the research side, and the policy side. So I feel unbelievably fortunate in terms of having been involved with so many good people, but seeing the industry from all of its various sides. I have a job title which, you know, basically says nothing. So Director of Sustainability. I look on myself as the head gardener. It's about nurturing relationships. It's about making sure that we really engage people, we understand what their needs are, and actually trying to make sure that as an organisation, as a scheme, that we understand what clients need, understand the role of the assessor, and actually nurture it so that everybody succeeds. And the product of that is a better building, a better community, you know, better infrastructure. And so the reality of what we need to do sometimes as we sit behind our desks is different from the reality of a construction project. And we always need to bear that in mind, because if we don't bear that in mind, we will fail. Because we don't want to actually design great buildings, but actually build something which is much, much, much different. But it's great to just have those conversations, and sometimes they can be really tough because not everybody loves the work we do. But actually, if you hide and you don't talk to people about what's going on, you will fail.
The first difficult question for you.
Great.
It comes from a place of love, because as you know, I used to work at BRE and I love BRE. And I think, you know, it's an incredible organization that has done heaps of good in the last 100 years or so. But there are some criticisms, especially with regards to BREEAM, that I would like you to address if we can. There is a perception in the industry that BREEAM is a bit stuck in the past. So with a world that is changing every day, and technology and instant results, the fact that you have to submit a report and get results after months, or, you know, some of the bureaucracy around that, is that something that is going to change? And how do you think you know, you can address that sort of criticism?
This is a whole hour's worth of conversation.
Oh no, we only have 5 minutes.
The answer to the question is yes. I suppose I'm in a very fortunate position that I go to lots of meetings internally, externally, so I know what we're planning to do. I know that some of the criticisms of the industry, sometimes people feel they're not being listened to, but we really do listen to what the industry say. The way we look at buildings and the way we certify buildings today, in the next 5 to 10 years, will be fundamentally different. So if I look at the work that's going on with BIM, if I look at the work that's going on in terms of off-site manufacture, if I look at sensors in buildings, all of those basically are happening today, and they will have a fundamentally different way by which we design, we operate, and we certify our buildings. I think making sure that there is a voice out there that basically gives a client to a project, you know, some assurance, I think is important. But the processes that we will follow in the next 5 to 10 years will be very, very different. So if we look at the work we're doing through the ISCF bit, which is the Industrial Challenge Fund, we are starting to think about, you know, how can different components be certified? What's the process that we're looking at? If we look at some of the work we're doing around sensors, it is about, can I take some of the data from an office environment in use and actually certify it real time? So not historically, and actually say, right, I'm actually certifying the building as it was 12 months ago. you can actually start to think about certifying the health, the efficiency, of a building in real-time motion. Now, that is very different, but actually it's what the industry is calling for. It's what's the role of the assessor? What's the role in terms of the process? For me, the assessor is fundamental to the process because they provide advice, as does the AP. But actually what we might start to do is make them more technically competent in that process rather than evidence collecting. So if you took the argument around sensors, for instance, is it about we produce a model for every building, the assessor calibrates that model against reality, and then the data is streamed from the building into some kind of model to check the performance. And the assessor then uses that to advise the clients on what can be done to improve. Now that's a different world from where we are today, but it's really exciting.
Immediately verify the actual performance of the building and get certification for what the building actually does is the key. And so I'm really, really glad these ideas have been progressed.
I think what's really interesting, if I'm honest, is the industry sometimes kind of looks at where we are, but not looks at what we're doing. And it comes back to that point. We are listening to the industry. We are changing. We are evolving. In March 2018, we kind of put verification stage into new construction. And I think that's so important, isn't it? That if we're going to move the industry forward, they may come shouting and screaming, but we do need to make sure that good design teams are rewarded for good design and good construction. And that verification process, be it either of the construction or actually the in-use phase, is fundamental to our success.
Perfect. And so in that sense, what do you think is the actual value that BREEAM brings to a building nowadays?
You're not going for the small questions, are you, today?
No, sorry.
The really big ones.
I'm grilling you, sorry.
From an economic perspective, there is good evidence now about rental price increase, in terms of improvement. There's, demonstration that you get smaller voids in terms of rental voids. We need to do more. I'm a firm believer that demonstrating value challenges us to make sure that we create schemes that create that value, but it also helps people understand that, they're doing it for a reason. It's not a certificate. I get frustrated by people that see the end point to be the certificate, not the impact that building will have. So following that through still from the social perspective, we're doing more research and understanding what the social benefit is. I think, what is the relationship between circadian rhythm, circadian proteins, circadian lighting, and, how we operate our lighting systems. And then environmental benefits as well. When you start to look at carbon reduction, everybody's talking about, net zero, etc. This is a space that we've occupied for a long time. And if you start to think about the impact of the materials, the impact of the design, the way business models are changing around energy and energy efficiency, we can tick all of those boxes and have ticked all those boxes for a large number of years. I don't think we've been particularly good at publicizing what some of those benefits are. So, we need to do more, but it doesn't mean that we're not doing anything at all in that space. So
what suggestions do you have for BREEAM professionals to make the most out of BREEAM?
Create inspiring buildings, do something for the first time, and it may only be a building, anywhere in the world that might just get a good or a very good. It doesn't have to be iconic, but what they have done is they have pushed the boundaries. They have used BREEAM as a way of inspiring them to do something different. BREEAM is not just a checklist. It is there to inspire you to do better. It is a book of best practice. How you decide to open that book and to use it to be inspired to do something better than you were going to do if you weren't applying BREEAM is down to you. And to kind of summarize, I suppose, we're doing some great stuff. We've done some great stuff for a long time. But I think, if I'm honest, the really, really exciting stuff is in our future. And the industry and your listeners need to help us understand and support us to get it better and to make it right. So you've got a role.
If you like what you just saw, you can go to thegreengorilla.co.uk for more ideas, more resources, more videos, and of course the Green Gorilla courses.